What's up everyone, what is Gucci? I'm your host Ayman Hassan and welcome back to a most amazing top 10. Back with another urban legends video. Okay, automatically the first thing I thought of when I came to this video was the movie Ghost Ship. It came out in 2002, Emily Browning is this dead scary child aboard the ship. I watched it when I was way too young and it just scared the hell out of me. The beginning where the wire cuts through everyone, I still remember it and it's not okay. Okay. Amen. Anyway, I imagine this video is going to be a lot like the movie but a lot less graphic, hopefully, so yeah, let's just get into it. This is the top 10 scary ghost ship urban legends. Starting us off with number 10 is the SS Orang Medan. Now this one's a good one. So back in 1947, a cargo ship near the coast of Indonesia sent out a distress call with the words "all officers including captain are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead." But before help even arrived, a second message was sent in with two words: "I die," which is spooky as hell. I wouldn't even know how to help if I was on the receiving end of that, so I don't even know what the person did. When the rescue workers finally boarded the ship, they found all crew members dead with their arms outstretched and their bodies contorted as if they froze fighting something off. But there was no sign of cause of death. None of the bodies had any trauma or injuries on them, they were just plain dead. While the rescue workers were aboard, the engine room caught fire, so they had to abandon the ship and let it sink, along with the possibility of an autopsy investigation. However, even that version of the story was debated because a year later a newspaper article came out stating a survivor said the crew died because the cargo, which was sulfuric acid, had leaked. What makes this even shadier is that the SS Orang Medan couldn't even be found in any registry. So did this even happen at all? Or was it just pure fabrication? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Coming in at number 9 is the Lady Lovibond. I feel like this one could be the premise of a Spanish medieval telenovela. It's a mixture of hate, jealousy, rage, and most importantly, love. In 1748, the day before Valentine's Day, naturally, a captain set sail to celebrate his wedding. His friend was also aboard the ship to celebrate, but he was far from enjoying. He too was in love with the captain's wife, and out of hatred, he steered the ship into the Goodwin Sands and thus sinking the ship and killing everyone aboard. Ever since the incident, the ship is seen every 50 years sailing near the Kent area. It's been seen in 1798, 1848, 1898, and 1948, and a lot of boats even sent out rescuers thinking it was a real ship, but they just couldn't find the ship the closer they got to it. Now this is an interesting story, but the only thing that makes me skeptical is how did it sink if it just hit a sandbank? I mean, how can a sandbank damage a ship that much? Would it not just be stuck on top of the sand? Could the crew not just exit the ship and get on the sand? There's just some loose ends that don't add up for me here, but I'm also no nautical expert, so all my questions could easily be answered and just be nonsense, and I'm a bit clueless in that aspect, so there's that. At number 8 we have the High Aim number 6. Ah, the irony. Aim high they did, but succeed they did not. This fishing boat left Taiwan on Halloween Day 2002, so this is the most recent legend we've had so far, but it's also quite messed up. The boat was found a whopping 3 months after its departure by the Australian Navy. When they found it, the engine was on full throttle even though the main gas tank was empty. The auxiliary tanks were full but untouched. They found at least 10 tons of bonito tuna kept cold but no crew members. Eventually one crew member was found months later and he was arrested after confessing that the crew had worked with pirates and killed the ship's captain and main engineer. But he never said why they did what they did. And it's not like they ran off with the loot, which in this case were the 10 tons of tuna, so the motive is still a mystery. Filling our number 7 slot is the Mary Celeste. I feel like people have such official names for their boats and ships, so I would just name mine something short and sweet like the Oyster or the Pearl. Is that lame? I feel like maybe that's lame. Anyway, on the morning of the 7th of November 1872, Captain Briggs, his wife and daughter, as well as a 7-member crew set out on a journey from New York to Italy on the Mary Celeste. The journey was meant to take 1 month, but the ship never reached its destination. A British ship called the Del Gracia saw the Mary Celeste drifting in the Atlantic near Portugal, so the crew decided to investigate. 6 months worth of food was found as well as all the crew's belongings, but the lifeboat had been used and deployed. The floorboards were under 3 feet of water, but the state of the ship was fine, it wasn't flooded, and it definitely wasn't beyond repair. And the captain of the Dei Gratia actually knew Captain Briggs and knew he was a very capable sailor, so the scene just made no sense to him. It went on to become one of the world's most famous ghost ship stories, to the point Sir Arthur Conan Doyle used it as inspiration for his story J. Habakkuk Jefferson's Statement. Till this day, no one knows what happened to everybody aboard. It's speculated that they abandoned the ship thinking the damage was worse than it was, but then didn't survive after they left. Now at number 6 are the ghost boats. Now back in 2015, Japanese authorities had found an array of ghost boats near their coastline. In the last 3 months of the year, they found 12 wooden boats, all carrying the decaying bodies of 22 people. A lot of them were partially skeletonized, 2 had no heads, and one boat just carried 6 skulls. While trying to guess and figure out where all these ghost boats and bodies were coming from, they theorized that they must be coming from North Korea. One of the ships said Korean People's Army on it, and another one had a tattered bit of cloth on it, probably from their national flag. So they think maybe either they were just fishing vessels that strayed off course, or they were filled with defectors trying to escape. Coming in at number 5 is the Joita. Now back in 1955, a fishing and charter boat was lost at sea, missing its intended destination by 5 weeks. The air search mission couldn't find the boat anywhere, but a merchant ship managed to find it drifting 600 miles away from its origin with no crew or cargo aboard. All they found was a doctor's bag and a ton of bloody bandages with the radio tuned into the universal distress signal. Other than those clues they left behind, no one knows what happened, and the crew was never seen again. I really want to know who was injured and what ended up happening. I feel like if they all died, the guy with the bandages was the first person to go. I'm sorry, let's face it. At number 4 is the Saho. Now Saho wasn't a ship, it was just a yacht belonging to a German sailor called Manfred Fritz Badgerat, who had been sailing around the world for over 20 years. So, you know, he had a bit of experience. In early 2016, however, 2 fishermen found the yacht floating near the coast of the Philippines. It was in really poor condition when it was found, and the mainsail was broken and most of the cabin was underwater. Aboard the ship, they found Manfred's dead body mummified, sitting at a desk in the radio room, slumped over his right arm. Autopsy reports show he had only been dead for 7 or 8 days, but the hot temperatures, salty sea air, and ocean winds caused his body to mummify rapidly. He was last seen back in 2009, but a friend did say she had heard from him on his birthday in 2015. It's believed he died from a heart attack, and the mast on his yacht broke after that, since as an experienced sailor he wouldn't have gone into a storm while he was still alive. Imagine no one had seen the yacht, it would have still been floating around somewhere in the world, and his daughter would have no idea what happened to her father. The sea is such a vast and unpredictable place, my mind would just run wild if that was me. Filling our number 3 slot is the Caleuche. This one is a legend hailing from Chilota mythology. The ghost ship can be seen near the island of Chiloe every night. The ship itself is said to be a conscious and sentient being. Despite it carrying the spirits of all the people who have drowned at sea, the ship is meant to be stunning, bright, and always filled with party music and laughter if you do ever manage to get a glimpse of it. But that in and of itself is near impossible, since it can only be seen for a few moments before immediately disappearing or submerging itself underwater and continuing its journey. The ship is run by a crew of drowned spirits who are brought to the ship by 2 Chilote mythological figures, Sirena Chilota, which are 2 mermaid sisters, and Pincoya, their brother. Once they're aboard the ship, they can just continue living just as they were before, which honestly seems like a pretty good afterlife deal. On the other hand, other stories about the ship say it draws in sailors with its hypnotizing music and then enslaves them to be part of its crew forever. And all these hypnotized sailors have one leg folded over their back, which I don't really want to imagine how that's done. And those aren't even the only stories about the ship, there are many more, but these 2 are just my favorites. Now at number 2 is the Carol A. Deering. In August of 1920, the schooner, aboard with 10 crewmen, set sail from Norfolk, Virginia to Rio de Janeiro with their cargo of coal. The original captain of the ship got sick a few days before the departure, so he was quickly replaced and off the ship went, and they reached their destination safely. The lightship keeper said he saw the ship on its way home and was hailed by an unidentifiable crewman who claimed the ship had lost its anchors. The keeper tried to report it, but his radio wasn't working, so he couldn't. But what struck him the most was that the crew seemed to be milling around suspiciously for no reason. The next day, another ship saw the Deering near Outer Banks, which was weird because that would have just been a strange course for them to take if the ship was on its way to Virginia. A day later, it was found aground and on the Diamond Shoals. Its sails were still set, but all the lifeboats were missing. Due to the bad weather, it took surf boats 5 days to reach the ship, and as expected, it was completely completely abandoned. All the crew's personal belongings were gone, papers, the anchors, even key navigational equipment, all gone. Despite an extensive search, no logs were found either. The most viable explanation people have come up with is that a mutiny must have occurred due to the crew's apparent dissatisfaction with the new captain, who already had a pretty uneasy relationship with the crew. Is that just not really dramatic? I feel like they were on their way home, they didn't have to endure him for much longer. Did they really have to go through all the trouble of crashing the ship and then deserting it? I feel like waiting it out would have just been easier and a lot less energy would have been spent on it, but honestly, to each their own. If you want to sink the ship, go ahead. And finally, at number 1 is the Flying Dutchman. I think this is the most well-known ghost ship urban legend around. I didn't know any of the ones on this list before, but the Flying Dutchman I've heard of from The Simpsons, as well as of course Pirates of the Caribbean. And the legends surrounding the ship are plentiful since it has been around for a while. Most people have seen it around the Cape of Good Hope during terrible weather conditions. The ship always looks like it's caught in the storm and on the verge of crashing into the rocks before just disappearing completely. For ships that happen to see it while at sea, it's called the harbinger of death and destruction. The story goes that Captain Verder Decken wanted to establish a settlement near the Cape of Good Hope for a break from the rough weather they were experiencing. When the ship rounded the cape, a horrible storm commenced and the ship was in danger of capsizing. But even still, against the wishes of his crew, the captain forced them to go ahead even if it meant they'd sail until doomsday. Another story claims a fight ensued between the captain and the rebel group amongst the crew who wanted to turn back. That eventually led to the rebel leader being murdered, and as his body hit the water, the ship itself spoke to the captain about him deciding to go on, and the captain again said he'll try to reach it till the day of judgment. Regardless of which story you believe, his last words in both are the reason behind why the vessel is cursed to roam the seas forever, ghostly crew of dead men aboard without ever making ground in any port. And that's all for today's video, guys. Personally, I'm just irrationally afraid of sharks to the point I really don't ever want to be on a cruise or really be out at sea for any reason. I'm good with water sports close to shore, but anything further than that is just a hard no from me. Let me know in the comments below whether you guys had heard of any of these before the video and whether you have any theories as to what happened to these ships. As always, I'm your host Ayman Hassan, and I'll see you next time. Bye!